Hello students, welcome to JCE Connect, Module 1, Revision, Part 2. Subject International Human Resource Management, Subject Code 17 MB HR 403, 18 MB HR 403. Development of International Human Resource Management and the Forces of Change. Firstly, we have global competition. So here it is generally recognized that levels of competitions are increasing with the spread and diversity of international business, and as firms from developing nations and transitional economies become more involved with global activities. So nowadays, if you could see, many companies want to go global. They just want to set up the global market, and this increases the competition, global competition. Then you have growth in mergers, acquisitions, and alliances, which is also a contributing element, and also response to global competition has been an increase in the number of mergers and acquisitions and the continued trend to the formation of strategic alliances. You could see a lot of mergers, acquisitions, alliances are going out throughout the world. As of now, it is at a standstill because of pandemic which has happened. But yes, there is a growth in mergers, acquisitions, and alliances. Organizational restructuring is the third point, wherein long recognized that firms constantly realign their operations. They realign the entire operations and the activities, which supports the change in strategic decisions as a consequence of growth and change in the firm's environment. Then advances in technology and telecommunication. Lot many advances are happening in technology and telecommunication. With a wink of an eye, you keep on changing the technology, you keep on advancing the technology. Wherein most striking example here is rapid adoption of internet in various ways. Anyhow, arrangements for virtual teams has facilitated project work across time zones and national borders. Coming down to strategic human resource management. Now, when we speak about strategic human resource management, it has a model which is in multinational companies. The successful SHRM effort begins with identification of strategic needs. So here, strategic human resource management begins with identifying the strategic need of the organization. Then, employee participation is critical to linking strategy and HR practices. Now, organizations will have a lot of strategies, but yes, the employees are supposed to implement those strategies, and they have to go in for critical thinking, wherein they link the strategy and the HR practices. Then, strategic HR depends on systematic and analytical mindset. So here, even the HR department has to become strategic. Their strategies, that means HR practices, policies, strategy should be in line with the strategic need of the organization. So it has to be very much systematic and analytic. Then corporate HR departments can have impact on organizations' effort to launch strategic initiatives. Very important, corporate HR departments also have a lot of impact in the changes which are being brought in the organization, the strategies which are being implemented in the organization, which also impacts the organization's effort to launch the strategic initiatives. When it comes to successful strategic human resource management, Motorola is a classic case to be cited in this context. Being a highly successful company throughout 1980s, Motorola started losing its ground under its feet in early 1990s. So competition from European and Asian companies became too intense for Motorola to bear. It was under this situation that HR leadership of Motorola came out with powerful strategy comprising of following action plans. They linked HR practices to customer and shareholder requirements, which helps to drive business unit strategy while promoting coordination strong enough to have a multiplier effect on the company's overall values. Then they position Motorola as a more effective competitor, then making Motorola cultural capabilities consistent with its desired marketplace brand identity, and they engaged the enthusiasm and support of management and staff. The experience of Motorola illustrates the logic and process for developing a powerful HR strategy based on the concepts and practices.
The company built a line of sight from investors and customers to its management and employees through its powerful strategic human resource practices.
Moving down to evolution of multinational enterprises. A multinational or transnational enterprise is one that engages in foreign direct investment and owns or controls value-adding activities in more than one country. In practice, most multinational enterprises are nationally controlled but internationally owned and managed. Although the extent and form of their cross-border equity and non-equity participation varies greatly between industries and firms and even within the same firm over time. How are companies classified as an multinational corporation or multinational enterprise? If the company is having subsidiaries in foreign countries, if the company's operation in a number of countries, if the company has high proportion of assets in or and revenue from global operations, if the stakeholders are from different countries, it is called as a multinational enterprise. Moving on to next the business strategies. First, domestic business strategies. Their focus is more on the new products and services for the domestic market. Foreign market and international managerial skills are irrelevant. So focus is majorly on capturing the domestic market. Then international business strategies. Here the competition increases a lot. Companies try to expand internationally. The hierarchical structure also is more complex. Structure and cultural dominance will be very high because the business is set up into various countries. Then first home country managers abroad as expatriates. So home country dominance will be very high into international business strategy. Then you have multinational business strategy. It is least cost and standardized products and services will be there. Worldwide lines of business. So products will be standardized according to the need of that particular country. Then decisions made by people from wider range of cultures. So host country nationals also will be taking the decisions. So higher decentralization of decision making is there. Values of headquarter national cultural dominates. So all the countries have to follow the values of the headquarters. That is the home country or parent country headquarters, home country or parent country company. So they have to follow the values and cultures of that particular company. Senior managers need to understand the world business environment. Then you have transnational business strategies, wherein it is a global competition. So your business is set up into entire globe. Identical products are distributed worldwide. I am not saying similar. Sorry, I'm not saying same products. It is identical products are distributed worldwide. Research and development takes a top priority. Firms become less hierarchical structures. A lot of virtual organizations do work here. Transnational human resource strategies are being developed. What are these business strategies? A business strategy is a mean by which the company goes in for achieving its desired ends, that is objectives. So it can simply be described as long-term planning or long-term business planning. So typically a business strategy will cover a period of 3 to 5 years, sometimes even longer. So business strategy are in line with the business strategy, we have the IHRM strategies, International Human Resource Management strategies, and that we have transnational as the first thing, that is geographical context within which all major decisions are being made. Then transnational representatives are the second part, that is multinational compositions of managers and executives will be representing the transnations or different nations. Then transnational process, that is firm's ability to include representatives and ideas from many countries. So these are three different IHRM, International Human Resource Management strategies. Moving on to SIHRM, that is Strategic International Human Resource Management. So as we have seen, globalization is becoming the need of the hour. A major component of globalization of business is field of human resource management. A trend over the past few years has been to identify the linkage of human resource management with strategy, not only on the national level but also on the international level. Thus, strategic human resource management takes a top priority when it comes to the field of research for academicians and an important field of concern for practitioners in multinational corporations. Moving on next to barriers in effective global human resource management. First barrier is political and legal factors. So throughout the world, the political and legal systems do differ. There are a lot of diversifications. Organizations deal with political and legal systems that are fairly stable, particularly in developed countries of Europe. On the other hand, in certain other countries, there are relatively unstable political and legal systems. The government of certain countries face coups, corruption, and dictatorial rules that are all badly affecting the legal and business environment. So, due to internal politics, the legal system in certain countries are also becoming unstable. In this way, variations in political systems, legal systems around the world became a hurdle in effective global human resource management. We have the second barrier, that is cultural factor. Every country has its own unique culture, which may be slightly similar to the culture of other countries of the world. So here, global human resource management should apply such policies and procedures in an organization which are in accordance with the local culture of the country or the region. So cultural factor becomes a barrier for smooth working of the global human resource management of an organization. Therefore, expatriates of organization should take into account the cultural norms and values of the host country to some extent. So that's the reason cultural training also will be given to the expatriate. Management should make ensure that implemented wider corporate culture is being followed in all subsidiaries of the globally operational organizations. We have the third one, that is economic factors. So here it is also regarded as barriers for effective global human resource management because there is not any single economic system operating globally. In case of capitalistic system, the efficiency and productivity are focused by the management of the organization by making the policies that promote efficiency. On the other system of economy, which is socialistic, element of unemployment is concentrated by the management on the organization by sacrificing productivity and efficiency, which is definitely harmful for the organization. So before development and implementation of any human resource policies and practices of the management, the economic barriers of global operations should be properly complemented by the organization. Moreover, the difference in labor cost around the world becomes a serious problem for the global business. Then you have the next one, that is labor management relation factors, that is nothing but industrial relation. So policies and procedures of global human resource management are affected by relationship of the worker and employee with the management because the nature of these relations vary from one country to another country of the world. Moving on to the challenges of an expatriate assignment. So it's a big challenge for international organizations to effectively manage its expatriate workforce. So because they'll be traveling from one country to another country, there's a lot of change in culture, there's a lot of change in working environment, a lot of change in language, symbols, adjustments, family, etc. Okay, so there are a lot of reasons because of which there is a failure of international assignments, a failure of expatriate assignments. Now, what are those reasons? Basically, they have identified six basic reasons for the failure of the international assignments or expatriate assignments. So one is career blockage. If an employee do not find any growth in career, do not find the working environment very much challenging, and he feels that the career is blocked there, cannot grow in terms of finance as well as in terms of experience, in terms of performance. So there surely the failure of international assignment happens. And then you have the cultural shock, and then you have a lack of cross-cultural pre-departure training. If training is not given properly, pre-departure training about the culture of the country, about the language of the country, about the symbols, about the values of the country, probably the employee may not be able, or expatriate may not be able to perform well there, and because of which it fails. Then overemphasis on technical qualification, too much of emphasis is there on technical qualification, and getting rid of bothering employees. Okay, certain times the expatriate may not be able to adjust with the country employees.
and family problems. All these are the various issues through which the expatriation fails. Now, there are a lot of difficulties on return also. There are some additional issues that are faced by the expatriates on arrival at home once they finish the assignment and come back home. Again, there is a problem. So, what are the problems? One is lack of respect for obtaining skills. So, whatever time the expatriate has spent on the foreign assignment, whatever skills he has learned, if it is obsolete when he comes down to his own country, then probably it brings in a lot of negativity in the employee, and a lot of the employee may feel that he is not being respected, he is not being valued, and that makes the employee very much to come out of the company, and the company may lose its valuable employees. Then loss of status, probably he may not earn or she may not earn the same status which he or she had before leaving this foreign assignment. Improper planning for return positions. So if there is no proper planning being done by the company on returning of the employee as to making the employee very much adjustable and very much comfortable in the home country. So probably that also brings a lot of difficulty on return to the employee. Then reverse cultural shock. Suddenly, after so many years, if he comes back, suddenly adjusting to that particular culture, to the family of the employee as well as for the employee, it becomes a big cultural shock for them. So all these are various difficulties on return. Going down next, effective management of expatriates assignments. How can you effectively manage the expatriate assignments? So the global human resource management should develop and implement those policies and procedures that cover the fundamental issues of the expatriate assignment. So these effective HR policies must be related to selection, training, career development and compensation of the employees. Now coming down to the selection of a suitable employee for expatriate assignment is a sensitive decision. Management should select the best employee for the international assignment. So taking certain guidelines into consideration. So they have to look into the cultural sensitivity which is to be emphasized as a criteria for selection. So the employee should be culturally sensitive. Then selection board should be established for expatriates, a separate selection board, a separate panel of members who are expertise in selection should be there. Then previous international experience is also required. Then foreign born employee are focused to hire. Then spouse and family of the candidates are screened out whether they are comfortable for this particular assignment to live with the expatriate. Then coming down to next, training. So people belong to various cultures, various countries. There are a lot of various languages. So they respond differently to the same symbols, image, slogans, etc. So the cross-cultural training brings in a lot of comfortability for the employee to go to that particular country and adjust there and perform well. So it is very much important that cross-cultural training is to be provided to the selected candidate, which covers the local customs, cultures, tax laws, language and government rules and regulations. So if that training is being given, it becomes very much comfortable for the expatriate to go, settle and perform well in that particular country for that particular assignment. Then career development opportunities offered by management of the organization also serves the basis for motivation of expatriate employee to perform well on his or her assignment. Then finally you have compensation, very important. Effectiveness of expatriate employee is enhanced through attractive compensation package by the management. As a lot of risk is involved, a lot of challenges are involved, it is very important that you have the right expatriate compensation package being given to the employee. However, in certain cases, these special compensation packages create conflict in local employees of the organization. So when local employees compare their compensation package with the package of the expatriate employee, local employees consider this policy of the management as unfair, and hence a lot of conflict arises in the organization. So these are various measures or various management techniques for successful expatriate assignment. Coming on next to socio-cultural context, the key factor in the increasing internationalization of employment is that there are cultural differences between nations, differences in national values, attitudes will be there. So many of us have stereotypes of Tecton Finns, that is Finland, Ibilton Spaniards, that is Spanish, work obsessed Americans, polite Japanese, modest Malaysians, etc. So there are certain characteristics which are being related to certain countries based on the characteristics of the people of that particular country. So these are stereotypes. Even though next Finn, that is Finland, we meet may be loud and confident. The next Spaniards, quiet and reserved, and so on. They indicate real general truth of that particular country. So there is now plenty of research evidence that different nationalities do have different values and that these affect the way people organize, conduct and manage work. So an awareness of cultural differences is therefore an essential part of international human resource managers brief. The normal HR activities such as recruitment, selection, training, development, reward, performance appraisal may all be affected by the cultural values and practices in respective host countries. So as a result, great care should be taken when deciding whether or not to adopt standardized HR policies and practices throughout the world. So, socio-cultural context entirely deals with the societal as well as cultural context of that particular country. So, it becomes a big challenge for the HR to frame the HR policies. So, you cannot have totally a standardized HR policy, but yes, you need to be very much in line with the values, attitudes, and culture of that particular country. Then you have organizational dynamics and HRM, that is role of culture into international HRM. As we have already seen, cross-cultural leadership looks at different differences and similarities across cultures, research into global leadership. So here HR department of multinational organizations invest a lot of resources and effort into selecting and training the expatriates and mostly concentrate on knowledge training and behavior modification training relevant to specific cultures according to the report. So they are guided by cross-cultural perspective that emphasize differences and similarities of values and behaviors among countries. So it becomes very important that they look into the cultures, values of that particular country and train the expatriate accordingly and modify his knowledge and behavior accordingly. However, because of multicultural teams operate in global context with people from different nationalities working together to accomplish a global mission. So comparison between two national cultures can be meaningless. So you need not compare the two national cultures, but yes, you need to adopt to the particular culture. That is what we could say in organizational dynamics and IHRM. Moving on to the country and regional cultures. So country culture and the regional cultures will be having lot of similarities, but certain differences also will be there. So study of the country and regional culture is very important when you want to conduct the business in that particular country. Now coming on to the society first. So society is nothing but a group of people with similar characteristics. So this similarity among people is a cause and effect of national boundaries. It is caused due to the effect of it is caused due to the national boundaries and it affects the national boundaries. Way to bound and measure cultures for conduct of the business is very important. How do you bound and measure the culture of that particular country for conducting the business? So for this, culture is a key characteristics of the society. You need to understand the culture of that particular society, culture of that particular people in the society, values of the people in the society, which may differ significantly across national boundaries or also within the national boundaries. So based on the culture of that particular country, even the laws are established along the national line. It is very important for the business to even study the laws of that particular country. So culture is both a cause and an effect. So culture becomes a cause and also an effect of economic and political factors that vary across national boundaries. So if you could see the difference between the various countries, economic and political factors, it is due to the culture of that particular country. That is what was explained in this particular country and regional cultures. Then moving on next to country culture versus multinational enterprises culture. So if you could see here the dimension, first part is dimension. So when establishing an office overseas, consider cultural differences across four dimensions. Now what is these four dimensions? One is individualism, collectivism, uncertainty, avoidance, masculinity, femininity, and power distance. If you remember, my dear students, in MOB, Management by Objective, you have seen Hofstede's cultural differences. So that is what explained here is individualism, collectivism. Some countries like America, they work individually, wherein some countries like India work in a group. Then uncertainty and avoidance. Certain countries will be having a lot of uncertainty in their cultures. Certain companies try to avoid risk. Then masculinity, femininity. Some are male dominant society. Some countries are female dominant society. Power distance is very high in some countries, very low in some countries. So according to the paper on the Association to Advanced College Schools of Business website, for example, members of high power distance culture such as Malaysia show great difference to those who outrank them, whereas Danes who come for a lower power culture expect to participate actively in discussion across all levels. So individualism culture such as English stress independence, while collectivism culture such as Venezuela stress the common good. So multinational companies should recognize that management style should differ across offices based on their cultural norms. So when advertising for the product, you need to take culture into consideration. If there is high femininity dimension, you concentrate on how it helps relationship. Whereas if it is more on male, that is masculinity, you focus on how to make how it is profitable and how it helps you to achieve the goal. Then comes next, that is family ties. So culture also differs in their views of the family and business. So in United States, a manager who is hired, her brother might well be accused of unethical nepotism. However, many Latin American cultures consider skipping over qualified relatives to hire a stranger to be silly. So while a small business that only operates in United States might ban the hiring of the relatives. So multinational businesses that operate in Latin America as well as United States might think twice of adopting such a policy. So certain countries do entertain the family ties, certain countries do not entertain the family ties. Then you have next, that is training. So small multinational businesses must change the culture in their own US based headquarters to be nimble enough to complete cross culturally. So cross cultural training is very important. So one way to adopt is training. So training could include a presentation on cultural differences, various symbols, languages, as well as incentives to encourage employees to travel to countries where where you have offered offices. Then hiring a multicultural headquarters workforce for help expose everyone to the cultural differences. So training becomes a very important aspect when it comes to expatriation. Then unified culture. So multinational companies also must strike the balance between honoring the culture of that particular country while ensuring employees from all offices and are united towards a common mission of the organization. So one way to do this is create community culture across all offices. A company blog or a daily email can highlight the accomplishments and give news from all the offices. Online collaboration tools or social media groups shall be linked to the employees from all cultures to a common mission. Coming down to the last part of Module 1 revision class, culture and employee management issues, impact of country culture on international human resource management. So when it comes to managing the human resource in the international context, there are a lot of challenges or a lot of issues which the HRs will be facing. So managing the expatriates adjustment process is primary focus of international HRM. So if you want your IHRM, international human resource management, to be successful, then you need to see to it that expatriates adjust correctly in that particular country where you have sent them for a particular assignment, and see to it that they are comfortable enough there and try to perform their best. So for that it is very important that you bring in a lot of help in expatriates adjustment process. See to it that they have proper induction, proper orientation being done by the organization. They are given proper training, proper housing facilities, etc. So that they are very much comfortable enough and they start performing immediately. The difficulty of this task has increased because sales and production shifted closer to the markets. So sales and production is shifted very closer to the markets. As the markets keeps on changing, the strategies of the sales and production also keeps on changing. Automatically the IHRM strategies also keep on changing. So it becomes a very challenging situation to adapt immediately to the change. There is higher use of host countries and third country management. Too much of use of host country and third country management will be there rather than the parent country management. So all these are bit issues in the IHRM, International Human Resource Management, when parent country nationals are not there or are not given too much of dominance, then host country and third country management starts dominating, which creates a lot of issues. Then there is concurrent increase in the number of impacts. So too much of no people are coming. Sorry, there is a lot of concurrent increase in the number of impacts. That is, people coming back from their assignment. So that is again the expatriate failure. Then both impacts and expats can have a difficult time adapting to their new surroundings. So it becomes very difficult. Certain times health issues may arise, family issues may arise, or maybe emotional issues may arise. A lot of problems happen when it comes to expatriation. So HR department has to deal with it very practically when it comes to cultural and employee management issues.